what should our hard stop be? If we end at like 7:30, 1:30, and we can have half an hour of Casual Friday. What do you guys think?
I don't know. I think it's a lot for people to stick around for Casual Friday. Do we want to do like 20 after?
Yeah, 20 after. Sounds good. Okay, so no language comments from the admin people. If you see something, just write it down. Logic-wise, though, let's start the discussion now, and we can see how far we can get. So Jack and Nick, are you guys going to share your screen? I'm not sure.
Yeah, and also, you want me to send the interview to the chat as well?
Please do. Thank you.
And then give us a little a rundown on what the form is, what the context is, so that those who don't have that context.
Second.
Sure. I can go over that while Jack gets the interview up. So our form is called a motion to dismiss a CRA, which is a child requiring assistance. So if somebody had already filed this form for the court to intervene, and that's what the child requiring assistance form calls for, is the court to step in and like take some kind of action on behalf of the child. Now they're saying, I don't want that form. I want to dismiss this action. I don't want the court to be involved anymore. So that's kind of like where they're at right now.
And we can all see, I'm just checking to see if we can see this in the chat. So everybody,
Yeah.
I feel like a teacher. Okay, turn to page 21. Turn to the chat where Jack has dropped the...
Just, yeah, an assembly line.
Is it the, are we looking for
Can you drop the final PDF as opposed to the interview?
Oh, okay. The actual PDF of the, like this PDF? Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, well, just an example of what it looks like so we have an idea of
Oh,
where we're
okay.
heading.
So that while we're going through, we can look at the questions that you guys are trying to get answers to.
Got it. You should all see like an extremely handsome person on your screen.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I'm not supposed to be looking at the thumbnail of
Yeah,
myself?
David, I was just waiting for that joke.
Right. You can now see all my my personal documents.
This is where I can't remember who was on a call. I think it might have been with Aubrey and myself and somebody else. We had to go and look at the they had to look at their download folder like 10 times, and it was all their personal documentation, like social security number, ID, like
the exact documents you don't want seen.
And it was recorded as well.
Oh, well.
As is this, so if there was anything in there sensitive, please let us know.
I think, you know, if you want to steal my identity, you're doing yourself a disservice. You don't want my credit score, you don't want certain things, so you can have it. So yeah, I sent one of them was a test one that we did. We tried doing something different, but the one I sent is the one we're finalized. The one that has 19 at the end is the actual one.
So this is what we're trying to complete.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So should we move forward, or with the interview?
Moving forward.
Moving forward, yeah. The first thing I noticed is just that it says page ID null, and I think there should be an ID on all pages. The reason that we want IDs is primarily for testing and for usability feedback. The usability team really likes to know the page IDs because it's easier to reference. So the page IDs, you'll see the page IDs, I think, on basic questions. It can really just be a description of what appears on the page.
Got it. And that would be a pretty quick thing to implement? Yeah,
absolutely. It's just an ID, a colon, and then whatever describe it. Like here would be like introduction page or something.
Got it. So yeah, this is just, you know, the quick introduction page. We send them to the mass.gov site if they want to have more information. And what's good is with our form is, I think it's because it's such an important form. There's also we send them directly to it later too, but there's a handbook directly for parents and like legal guardians and school officials on exactly every single part of this process, and like why it's filed and how it can be filed and certain things like that. But we send them to this website for resources just in case. And so, you know, child name.
I'm going to ask a really quick question. I Not to you guys, actually. With this child stuff, I'm not sure. I know for the 209A, it needed an escape button because that was a dangerous situation. And this has to do with children. I don't know if it, I was never clear on like when that escape button needed to be there and when it didn't. So I was just.
Yeah, I think that's
it does not need to be here. It doesn't.
Okay. Perfect.
And so, yeah, this one, you know, on the form, it'll be in Ray, and the in Ray is supposed to be the child's name. So we just get that here. Again, on the form, it asks, you know, if you're the applicant, child, or legal guardian. We ask that here. And we did learn you can be multiple. So you can be the applicant and the legal guardian, so you can do both.
I was going to ask
I don't
that.
know if you can be all three, but it's possible at this point. I don't know how you can do it otherwise, but, you know, so we could have it so you can do both, because we know that you can be both applicant and legal guardian.
Yeah, thank you for that. I was going to ask why it wasn't radio buttons, but that is quite a good catch.
And we checked that with the SME too, and that's possible. So the application, when was it filed? Application date. This one we were struggling a little bit, even with the SMEs too, to make it a readable thing to learn what a fact-finding hearing is. So right now we have it sent straight to the handbook, which has like a whole section on the fact-finding hearing, but it is, you know, pretty dense in legalese. But, you know, we just have that as it is right now. So it has the fact-finding hearing occurred, yes or no.
We have a plain language explanation, which is not yet published. So once we get our like 47 articles posted, I can let you know, and then we can change the link. That's not a
That'd
big
be perfect.
Thank you, Caroline.
And so here's like where we kind of get like the one interesting part about this form is there's 3 different types of people can file for it. So it can either be a parent, a school representative, or a police officer. But it's only a police officer in a very specific situation when it's a sexually exploited child.
Okay.
And you'll see why we do this is we talked about the first SME. We discussed like wanting them to be able to form their argument, because at this point, this is about I request the court to dismiss for the following reasons. We want them to be able to understand what they should be saying here about like, okay, this was filed because X and it has been resolved because Y. And to get to that like kind of guidance, we ask, okay, so if you're a parent legal guardian, there can only be 2 reasons you file the CRA, which is whether your child is a runaway or a stubborn. And we like collect this, or we go through these questions. This doesn't actually collect anything, but it's there to like help remind them exactly why it could have been filed for their child. So for a runaway, a child who repeatedly runs away, or, you know, stubborn, they fail to obey the lawful or reasonable commands of parents. And that's just a good way to remind them like, okay, exactly how it was probably filed. And so they can say why in the next question, it was filed because X is because they were a runaway and has been resolved because of Y. And initially me and Nick had it so that depending on what you chose would change your for examples. So it'd be like, if you chose runaway, it would say like, for example, your child's a runaway, you should do this. But our SME on Monday said that we really shouldn't do that because it may induce them to write a certain way. So we had that in a certain way. So the SME said, oh, you shouldn't.
Yeah, this is going to be the issue with.
Yeah.
This is the issue with court personnel acting as SMEs. They want to tell nobody anything.
Yeah.
And that's what's funny, because like our first SME said the exact opposite.
Mm-hmm.
The first SME
Yeah, because they weren't with the court.
The other thing,
yeah,
I don't know if you guys remember this, but the first SME, I think she said the motion to dismiss the CRA for sexual exploitation is actually a different form. It's not this form. So that's a little we can't expect you guys to understand that, but that surprises me, given that the court SME didn't recognize that.
So yeah, we have it set, so how the court SME described it to us is it's under this specific statute.
Right.
They can file it for a sexually exploited child. And the way the statute's framed, it does sound like they can file, it says like, you know, if a child is sexually exploited, they can file it under this statute, which is the SRA statute.
CRA,
so,
yeah.
Oh, sorry, yeah, CRA statute. And like we link to the actual like Mass Legislature website.
Sure, that's great, yeah.
But yeah, we put that in there because the SME said that it's possible, just to have that one case maybe. but I mean, I do remember that SME saying that like it's really just the school representative and the parent legal guardian.
The other thing I didn't quite follow, when you had the applicant, you had this 2 options for stubborn and runaway for the parent, for the applicant. But I mean, a parent could file a motion to dismiss a CRA if the school filed it because the child is truant.
Yeah. I think it's a little confusing, but it is who filed the CRA. So you can be the parent.
Oh, you're just, no, but okay, sorry, I misunderstood. Right. So that was what it was. Sorry, I misunderstood the logic there. Go ahead. Sorry. I wasn't.
Oh, yes. But I do understand that confusion though, because it's asking, you ask later, like you're the applicant or the parent or whatever, but this is asking like who filed the initial CRA, and if you can still be a parent and then choose school because the school filed it.
Sure.
Well, you filed it, and you get.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Okay. Right. Right.
And so yeah, you can be the parent, but you're fighting this part.
Right. Right.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
And then one big change though, we did have this language like if you chose habitual truant, it would have been a habitual truant, like it would have been tailored for habitual truancy, like an example. And we turned it back to this, but we could go back to that as well. If they like, if it could be the ones like we can choose the other SMEs insight over this SME, but this SME said like it would be fine just to have like kind of more broad general examples than the tailored examples.
Did they understand that people would have gotten tailored examples in each of the individual cases?
Yeah, she did, but she thought it would be better to have broader. For some reason, she didn't like that we had it in that way, where it's like if you run away, like a runaway is someone who does this. So it's like my child was a runaway and did this, and this has been resolved by like a therapist or something like that. She didn't like that there was like the way it was written, that it kind of induced a certain way of writing. It was kind of confusing how she phrased it.
Yeah, well, so just so you understand, so coming from the court's perspective, they are used to just giving people forms and saying, I can't tell you anything.
Right.
Okay.
No legal advice.
And so it's like, and people have a question and they'll be like, no, I can't, here's the form.
So who was the SME, David? Who was it?
I can't recall now. It was someone who works administratively, I think, with CRA.
Oh, with, yeah. I don't know. I mean, yeah.
No, but this is consistent with what I would expect from court feedback.
Is this something that we want court approval for, so that we can submit?
Yeah, this is a form that is going to be court approved. So it's probably good to keep the court happy.
So one of the things maybe we could do when we get our stuff posted is that, again, this is this sort of nuance between you're saying that your MOU with the court about what we can and can't change. If there's something about the explanation in there.
Yeah, I don't want to do any hiding the ball with the. I don't want to do a. I see where you're going, but I don't want to rely on that as a. I don't want to rely on that. What I'd rather do is we come to what we think the best determination is for this language at this time. So
I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. For what?
The best determination of the language here for this time, without thinking about future changes. So I think the I like the idea of maybe there's a split the difference, right? So maybe play. I don't want to get into this now because this moves into language, but although all language is then actually logic, and then it's a fuzzy border. But why don't we call this a language edit? We'll discuss it more later, and we'll see if we can reach a balance between a general and a specific. Something that's a little more helpful as a general, maybe giving some specific examples without rising to the level where the court would feel uncomfortable with it.
Understood.
I have a question. I mean, you might call it language, but I'm not sure it is. The family has not been provided services to their satisfaction. Is that saying the CRA is not providing them what they had hoped to get? Is that, we do mean not they have been provided?
That's what it means, what you said. This is just actually taken straight from what our SME, again, this is probably like a
No,
language
that's
thing, but
okay. I
this
just
is
wanted to be,
exactly, okay.
sometimes people put in a not when there isn't a not. So I just wanted to be sure that that was a not, rather than we got what we wanted, we don't need it anymore, rather than this didn't do what we wanted it to do. I was just trying to understand what that reason was, that's all.
Yeah, I think I take that reasoning as like when they filed for it, they thought they were getting a different type of service, and it's
Yeah.
not their satisfaction.
Yeah.
Because I think that's kind of like if they got what they got, like if they were satisfied and they got all the services they wanted, it kind of would be resolved anyways.
Gotcha.
Right.
And so what's kind of cool is we did this is for the question 4, which is I request the court to dismiss the case for the following reasons, and we think it was really good to do it this way because exactly what the court would want. So it would be like, my child
Right.
for a month, what I mean, something like that. And you say like, how is it resolved? Like my child now has, I don't know, has, resources. It's been resolved. And how that will come up. Yeah.
One thing you might do is where it says, please state why the CRA was filed. You could do a little help thing that says, look at the original CRA and, you could copy it.
Yeah. We could do that. We could like guide them, or tell them to, please refer to the original CRA.
Especially if they're asking the court to dismiss a CRA that they didn't file. So if it's a parent asking the court to dismiss a CRA that the school filed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so your dad had as a note above.
Sorry?
You could just add that as a note above. Please refer to the original file.
Yeah.
Also, sorry,
please look at the original file.
This is
When I say something, I am not expecting it to be plain language. I'm just giving you the gist.
I just think that one of the things that we've gone with is that not saying please throughout. I think maybe, Caroline, could you just confirm that? We don't say please.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, I'm confirming.
Okay.
Got it.
So just remove those pleases.
Okay, I understood.
And that's important for everyone else just to remember as well.
And then this one is also, like I certify that I will serve this motion to all counsel by record. And then, I certify that the motion was served on, or like will be served on. We should change that.
Yeah, this is where you got confirmation from your second SME on this, right? This was so confusing, yeah.
Yeah, that it's okay to say like I certified this will be blank, And this one's just like title. So if you're school representative, like choose your school district. If you're a parent, choose your relationship. So be like father. We got SME, like I said, it's fine to do like
that one could be they've already told you what they are, right?
They haven't told you specifically their relationship to the child.
No, I mean, they've told you, haven't they said in the beginning, you asked them what their relationship to the child is, a parent or a school representative, like who filed, right? You say who filed?
Mm-hmm. And that
who filed is different than their relationship.
Yeah.
You just have applicant. You don't have a school thing.
See how like you can say I am the applicant's child or parent legal guardian. There's no other place for exactly who filed, and we're using the who filed as the guy.
All I'm saying is you ask this question. First of all, your parent, legal guardian, custody of the child. Those could be 3 boxes. So people could pick exactly which of those they are. And then when you get to that question that we were just on before you came to show the PDF, then instead of saying if you're the parent, say what your relationship is, or if you're the you see what I mean? Then you can give them, that sentence can be conditional depending on what they say their role is.
So like basically after we take it here, it's like if you are the parent, just please include almost right down here, like include the title here, maybe.
You see where you've got filer, you've got school employee, right? So where your drop down, try your drop down, show your drop down. Okay, instead of parent, legal guardian, custodian all in one line, you can have parent, legal guardian, custodian. And then
except this is who filed, not the person who's filed.
Sorry.
And
you haven't asked that yet. Sorry.
Yeah, so that hasn't asked. So what you could do is on the previous page where you're saying, or maybe it's not even the previous, a couple before, where it's asking about who are you. there,
there you
you
go.
could have,
Yeah,
you
that
could
was
have
the
a
one.
conditional set up there so that when
Yeah.
you said, it's parent legal guardian on the form, right?
Can I,
Custodian, parent, custodian,
I-
legal guardian.
can I suggest, I know it adds a screen, but if you ask the person, you know, who are you, parent, legal guardian, et cetera, the next screen can say, are you the one who filed the thing? And if they were, you don't have to ask the question about the person who filed the thing. Because I think it's very confusing if you say, I'm the legal guardian, and then it's like, who filed the thing? And it's like legal guardian, and you're like, it's me. I did it, right?
Yeah, she's got it. I
Yeah.
think that's a really good point. Yeah.
I think that's a really good point. And then I think Caroline's original point about when you're asking father, you could move that further up in the interview, and you only have to ask it when it's a parent. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So you would,
but it's,
Yeah,
but it's,
yeah, that's who filed, right? So I think.
yeah. So to move away from the who filed part, but the thing where we were at the end, where it was the title.
Mhm.
We're just trying to populate
Yeah. So just
this.
have that after you say who you are.
Right.
Yeah, that would be probably better for flow.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry, you have to go all the way back through.
Oh, no worries. I'll just run through. I just want to like show you that like we have it set so this becomes one section. Yeah, certify.
What browser is this?
This is Chrome.
Okay.
Father. And if we move this up, it probably would be better flow-wise.
I think Michelle, I think you were responding to a plugin like Grammarly or something. I think was in there.
Oh yeah, that was
okay.
great.
Grammarly, yeah. I love Grammarly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just FYI, I've stopped putting X as my default thing because once it came up XXX, and I was like, no, that's not what I want.
And then and then we just gotta go next, and then it'll populate both.
I think this is a note for basic questions as well, is that it keeps saying, what is your case? It's referring to the case as your case. And if you're filing a motion to dismiss, and there was a case we saw with the attorney thing, it's not your case. Dismiss it.
Yeah, that's interesting. For the attorney situations, we'd always had a little thing that said, fill this out as if you are the client.
Yeah.
Except for LAR, you're not going to fill it out.
Well, exactly. On that one, there isn't that. But in the and since you were bringing it up as basic questions, I think that was something we had said. But yeah, this is a unique situation because you're asking to dismiss something that you might not have been the initiator.
It's just a bit awkward. I think it's a bit off-putting for people who want to dismiss a case to say your case because.
Yeah, maybe this case would be more appropriate. So. It's a language discussion for later.
I'm also thinking again, as we start talking about defendants filling stuff out, if maybe defendants don't want the case to be referred to as their case if they're defendants.
So that's a language thing that we can flag. I'm going to put that in my
for
notes.
Basic questions.
For basic questions, yeah. Because the thing is, it's also, it's a flag for language.
And then I have a question I want to circle back to about the line of reasoning that Michelle was talking about, because I'm kind of like taking notes on the edits. What was that exactly with the
Sure. So
that you were
what
talking about, Michelle?
So what it would do, it would first ask the user, you know, what is your relationship to the child, parent, legal guardian, etc. The next question would be, are you the one who filed the original request or form or whatever that was? And the next question, if they said no, the next question would be, who did file it? And if they said yes, then you wouldn't ask them that further. You would just make your variable equal to whatever they were, right? Then later on, when you ask whatever the follow-up question for being a parent, if they're a parent, you ask that question. Shall we go? If you want, we can do a call and I can go over that again in more detail.
Yeah, and also I think that the title doesn't end up being dependent upon parent. I think that was a confusion originally. So that final level is not important, but yes, it's just the filter on avoiding having to say, who did this? I did this.
I just think the one
Okay.
point of confusing it's confusing because you can be a parent and it was filed by the school. You can be the parent, the applicant, and it was
Yeah,
filed.
that's
Exactly.
and that's what Michelle's
That's-
trying
yeah.
to
Yeah.
get at.
She,
Well, I think
like
I
eliminate
like her
redundancy.
suggestion. Yeah,
Well-
eliminate that.
Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, Michelle, it's you can go.
So you're trying to eliminate the problem that there's this ambiguity between the person who they are and the person who filled the form, right?
Yeah.
Or the person or entity. So you're asking who are you to the child, right? What is your role? And then
Mhm.
you're asking, you filled out this form in the past. So then you
Or
as the
if you
coder
filed the original CRA.
there we go. Did you file the original CRA? And then at that point, if they say yes, okay, the parent and advocate filed the CRA, right?
Mhm.
If they say
Yeah.
no, then you ask who did file the CRA, and
So
right. So you
yeah, so this screen only shows up if you say it wasn't you.
I see. Okay. Oh yeah, I think that would make.
And you don't have the option of who you are on this screen. So if you were a parent, legal guardian, or custodian, it would say who filed the CRA, the school or a police officer. If
Mhm.
you're the school, it would say, are you one of these
Oh,
others?
now you're getting advanced.
yeah.
But you could say like if we.
This screen here. So before you go, this is what I meant originally. So you have applicant, child, legal guardian. I would suggest that you have 2 more check boxes. One would be custodian, and one would be
Parent.
parent. Yeah, and you might even say no. That's no, I guess not, because you don't want to say the police officer. Yeah, you
Yeah,
just
so the form,
wouldn't you? And then when you get to the end, I mean, I don't think the police aren't dismissing CRAs, are they? That's even if they use this form.
so I think that you probably want to adhere to the form's logic here. So the parent, legal guardian, custodian are all lumped in as one
Yeah.
for that
but it's
purpose.
easier. I mean, we do this a lot in other interviews, is we break those 3 down, and then you get
Yeah,
a
but
little bit.
is that granularity required somewhere else?
It's just required in the person's head.
It's helpful for the person to identify themselves, because if any of those 3 boxes are checked, they're checked on the form. But also when they have to say their relationship, like legal guardian, you don't have to say what your relationship to the child is. Parent, I don't know if they want to do mother or father, or you've already done it.
The problem is I would read the parent, legal guardian, and custodian as all being equivalent. So you can be the legal guardian without being the parent, but if the parent, you are the legal guardian.
So if somebody asked you this question, you would check all 3?
I might very well.
But it doesn't.
That would be okay. It would allow you to do it. But if you're the legal guardian, people often.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I just feel there's some confusion there because I don't think that you need to disambiguate the title, which was the original thing that you were asking. I think the original thinking was that if you said the parent, then we had to ask you for your relationship. But we actually have to ask for your title, regardless as to whether or not you're the parent. So it's title.
It says only if you're in the school district, you have to ask that title.
That's not how I read that. I read that to be your title, and it says include school district if motion filed by school district representative. So I read that as an instruction to say, if you are the school district, you need to make sure you include the school district, but otherwise you include the title.
Which would be parent / legal guardian / custodian. What would that be?
Well, that's a question for the CRA.
So
for the
SME. For the SME.
So we refer to the SME, and I asked this because we had title as a mandatory question. So I was like wondering, if it's possible, like if it was a parent or a police officer, like what could they add? And he said like, oh, it'd be fine if they said father or mother or like the actual relationship. She's like that could be their title, or like parent, legal guardian. And we can add that too. It's like if you're a parent, just write parent, legal guardian, or custodian. You know what I mean? You can have it.
But I don't think if you just let them check it off, then you in the code can say if they said legal guardian or if they said whatever, check off that box.
That's what I think. Yeah, instead of having them write it, because If you're
Problem
the
is, then you
parent,
do
it
have
asks
to make it
you, what's your
conditional upon.
relationship to the child? That's confusing. What's your title? I mean,
Well, so I think, so let me propose another alternative, which is that it does not actually seem that it needs to be a mandatory field. You could, would it be correct to assume that you could leave it blank if you were not a police officer or a school employee?
I think that's worth asking an SME about that one.
Because the
Double
other
checking.
thing is, then you have to be careful about, you would want it to be a free open text field if they were a school employee or a police officer, because they might have unique titles.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to think about the complexity. If it's, because it says title, and I get this from Caroline's bit, like she originally, when you read it, you were thinking it was only asking for school folks. But when we originally saw the question as it was prompted in the interview, we were thinking it only applied to parents. So obviously this needs some disambiguation.
Clarification.
I mean, I wouldn't
I
have
think
assumed you needed to put anything there unless you
Yeah.
had an official job role that related to filing.
Okay.
But that's just the way I would read it the first time.
Yeah, I think we should confirm with an SME, maybe the first SME, that can be left blank if you're a parent, and only needs to be there if you're a police officer or a school employee.
Yeah,
And if that is correct, then you could only show them, so this goes to Caroline's point, you could only show them the free text field for title if they were a school employee or a police officer.
That makes sense, because of course, if they're a parent, you can just check up here too. They would have checked this off, so you don't like if there's no title, you'd be like, oh, it's up there. They're a parent, legal guardian, showing their.
And I even think, this says include school district if motion filed. So because in your final question, you say, if you're this, answer it this way. If you're that, answer it the other way. And so I think we don't want to have, it's like, don't make me think. So we should already know what their if is. And then if they say they're a school employee, then we say, what's your district? Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, so you say title and district.
Yeah.
You add the.
Okay. And then,
all right, and that is 120.
Got it.
Guys, I'm so impressed with this.
It's really good.
Really, the logic is sound. I think that with the suggestions that were made today, and then some further language amendments, I think you've got a really solid interview here on your hands.
And you get a prize for working with two different SMEs that give you conflicting information.
Very different.
Very real world.
There were so, yeah. So are we good to start? Then we're good to start testing, but like implement these changes and kind of run testing parallel.
I would. Sorry.
Oh no, I was probably going to say exactly what you're going to say. So you say it.
What were you going to say? I would do the testing. I would do the implementation of the changes first, and then go with the testing.
Okay.
Is that what everyone else is
any
going to
logic
say?
changes, yeah. I think for any logic changes, that's what you want to do. If it becomes language ones, not as big.
Like for example, the
change
with the screen, you're going to want to incorporate that before you do the testing, because otherwise you're going to have to do kind of more testing, and it's more time efficient, I think, to make those kind of logic changes first and then proceed with testing. And then we'll schedule a time to go over language. I've just jotted down a couple of notes that I have. Maybe in the next 2 weeks we can do language.
Awesome.
Okay.
That's good.
Guys, very well done. Very impressed.
And I threw language things in Slack comment thread.
And just so you guys know, we didn't say in the stand-up, but Jody and I has been working this morning on filling out the readability style guide. We've got a ways to go. I mean, we're not ready for review, but just so you know.
Okay.
Exciting.
I'm going to stop recording, guys.
Thank you.